Okay, we are back here on SportsLine. Shane Foster, our guest tonight. Steve Lehman, your host. Shane, big year for the Vanderbilt basketball program. First off, let's talk a little bit about the team. There are a lot of expectations on this group. Maybe some of that was unfair because when you talk to that coaching staff a year ago, they finished 7th in the SEC. This wasn't like it was a power coming back. They just had a good run at the end of the year, made some noise in the NIT, and I think people just thought that wave would carry them this year. Now that you've seen what they did, they got into the tournament, but lost to Wichita State in the first 4. As a former Vanderbilt player, how do you evaluate what this season was?
Well, I think that starting out the year, there was expectations based off of what we had on paper. And the reality is that we had all of the pieces to be a great team. We didn't necessarily have the experience to take that potential and go deep into NCAA basketball in March. And so those expectations for kids, and we're still talking about kids when you know, and that's no disrespect to Wade Baldwin and Damian Jones, who, you know, we're hoping will get drafted in the first round of the NBA this year. Those are great players, and they had great players around them, but they lack the senior leadership. They lack the experience of being successful under tough, adverse situations, and I think that showed down the stretch. And unfortunately, we were unable to get our potential to a place where everybody was playing at their height at the same time. And a lot of that there's a lot to be said about that, and I think that a lot of our fans and a lot of the city really bought in to the hype prior to seeing the performance. And it really put a lot of pressure on our kids to go out there and perform at a level that they had never performed at before. Like you said, they were, you know, number 7 in the SEC the year before, and you know, to go in with that kind of pressure. And then, you know, social media doesn't help, you know, when you got guys that are NBA potential guys, and they got TV shows like The Green Room, and so guys are seeing themselves plastered all over everything. You know, that when you don't have, you know, a whole lot of senior leadership on a team to kind of, you know, grab the team and say, hey, we need to be focused right here, it's tough.
Are Wade Baldwin and Damian Jones ready to go to the NBA, in your mind?
I think whether they're ready or not, they should go. Simply because, and I went through this as a former player as well, when you become a senior at the college level, your game is scrutinized to the T. And the earlier you can leave, if you have that opportunity, you should definitely go and pursue that. From a skill standpoint, both of those players are NBA guys. Damian Jones can be a dominant player, but he also has some other skills that we weren't able to see, you know, really reach the potential that being an NBA player will kind of pull out of him. Wade Baldwin the same. I mean, his ability to score in transition and to push the ball and to make really tough shots and to really run a team can be even greater than what we saw being on a spaced out floor as big as the NBA floor is and having better players around him. So I think both of those guys are absolutely NBA talents. And now, that being said, everybody that is an NBA talent isn't a college superstar. You know, you get guys like Russell Westbrook, who did not have an incredible college career, but he's top 5 players in the NBA. You know, so it's that kind of piece that, you know, a lot of people look at what they accomplished in college and say, well, they're not NBA ready. What you accomplish in college is not necessarily the barometer for what you're going to accomplish in the NBA anymore.
Totally fair. The other downside, and I don't think either of these guys are in this window, but when you talk about college guys leaving, there are a lot of guys who throw their name out there who may not get drafted at all, let alone in the first round where you talk about the guaranteed money and the really big payday. And I think both of those guys are going to be safe there, and we hope so if they truly are headed out the door. You don't know Vanderbilt basketball, and frankly, neither do I. without Kevin Stallings being the head coach over there, what's it going to be like when you walk into the gym and your old coach isn't there now?
Well, I'll be honest, the very last day that Coach Stallings was in the office, I went by and had a chance to speak with him and Coach Rich, who I was very close to. And after walking out, I sat in the foyer and tears just began to flow out of my eyes, because these were guys that were my family for 13 years of my life. For the last 13 years, they have either recruited me, been my head coach and assistant coach, or been friends that I count on and spend countless time with. I mean, I remember their young kids, drawing me pictures while we were on the road at games, and now they're growing up and being, high school and college kids who still look up to me and tell me things like that. And it's just, that family piece that's going to be gone. But I've had an opportunity to spend some time with Bryce Drew. And I will say this, he is a really good man. I really believe that in my heart of hearts. He's a guy that values people. He's a guy that values getting out in the community and being influential, using his position to influence the lives of others. He's a servant, and he's someone who I think is going to be well respected by our players. He obviously has the credibility, being that he's played in the NBA, had great success at Val P, and he's putting together a coaching staff that's going to help him. And I think it's going to be interesting. I'm not going to put the pressure on him that we put on our last team. I really would like to see him come in and be able to mold this program to be his own, so that we can reap the benefits of that on the other side. Something
he said in his introductory press conference is every coach builds off the last one, and he said that Kevin Stallings did a very good job here building what Vanderbilt basketball has become, but there are some levels that Commodores basketball hasn't reached, and you know it, Final Four. It hasn't happened before, and Bryce was pretty candid saying that's the level we want to get to. We want to take that next step at some point. You mentioned the fact he's a former player. He has arguably one of the most famous shots in college basketball history in the NCAA tournament to beat Ole Miss back when he played at Valparaiso. He played in the NBA for 6 seasons. He's had success at albeit much smaller and not in the SEC, but another private school dealing with those types of athletes. How do you think all of those experiences can help him at a job like Vanderbilt?
I think it's important. I think that David Williams did a great job in the recruiting process of going and getting someone who has the level of experience that he brings to the table, but also he's young enough to have that fire to really want to go out there and get a Final Four. And I think that he's got enough people around him that have had those Final Four experiences that he can draw upon those experiences and be able to get our teams there. From a recruiting standpoint, I've heard that we've got some looks from some key guys that are going to be important to making that happen, and I'm just excited to see what he's going to be able to do with our program. I'm more excited to see the young men that are going to be grown under his leadership. I really do have a lot of respect for him as a person, and I always believe that when you minimize distractions off the court, you maximize performance on the court. And I think that's a critical aspect that he's going to be able to bring to our team.
Yeah, that would be key, that is for sure. I got to ask you, Kevin Stallings now at Pitt. That has been met with mixed reviews by people I know in Pennsylvania. How do you think Coach Stallings will do moving into the very difficult ACC, taking on a new challenge?
Well, knowing Coach Stallings, he loves challenges. He never backs down from a challenge. He's a fiery guy. He is arguably the best X's and O's coach in basketball. I've said that before. And being able to be in the ACC conference, going up against such great teams every single year, not only is he going to get better from being in that conference, but he's also going to make some other coaches better, because they're going to have to prepare for Kevin Stallings. I think he's going to do a tremendous job at that university. Obviously, they aren't going to have the academic standards that Vanderbilt has, and so he's going to have the ability to do some things a little bit differently than he had to do here at Vanderbilt. But I think he's going to do well.
I want to go down memory lane here quickly before our break. Favorite memory for you in Memorial Gym?
Undoubtedly, after my senior night game, scoring 42 points, coming back, winning that game in overtime, hitting a game-winning shot, my entire family's there, the emotions that went through that game, and it was a late game. I'll never forget, as long as I live, that every single person that was in that gym stayed. And the eruption that sounded off as they called my name for the last time, I still get chills now, just because when people show their appreciation for you like that, it means something. It means that my impact on the basketball court was more than just basketball. And one of the things I always said while I was at school was that, basketball is not who I am, it's what I do. And I tried with everything in me to get to know our fans, to spend time with the community, and I wanted that game. My prayer in that game was to go out there and be able to show the fans how much I appreciated them with my play. And I felt like I accomplished that, but they showed me how much they appreciated me after that game was over, and it's something I'll never forget as long as I live.
How did that experience, because it sounded like the people and the environment you were in, as much as the basketball shaped you in that time of your life, as you look back on it now, what did you learn about yourself in that time as a basketball player at Vanderbilt?
I learned that there's nothing that I can't accomplish. I learned that I'm so much more than a basketball player. I would say that at times, and then I'd also question it in the back of my head. But there were so many people that drew out different things for me. The fact that I feel like I'm a pretty good speaker, and I do a lot of speaking now in my role at the YWCA. But that all started when people would challenge me to come out and speak to their elementary school classes, come out and speak to their high schools. While I was in school, I did more community service than anybody because I never told people no. Anytime I was asked to go to a church, to go speak to a youth group, go talk to a team, go read to kids, I always went. And because I always went, I got a chance to get to know so many different people. And Nashville is such a melting pot. There's so many great people here. And I was able to draw off of all of those experiences. And I tell people all the time, I had probably the best college experience of any athlete across the world because I really spent time with our people. And when you spend that much time with people and you just love on people and give people a chance to love on you, you learn so much in that you're able to take into whatever career, whatever life situation that you go into. And now, as a husband, I'm a better husband because I saw great husbands in the city of Nashville. I'm a better friend because I saw great friends in the city of Nashville. I'm a better employee. And, for a long time, I thought I was just going to play basketball. I didn't have a plan B after basketball. That was just my life. That was what I was going to do. Once I decided I was going to stop playing basketball, I had to go be an employee. Well, I learned what that looks like from people in Nashville. And so those are experiences that I'm undoubtedly grateful for.
Experiences that served you well, that is for sure. You've had a lot of success on the basketball court, but now off of the basketball court as well. We're running a little bit behind. Got to take a break. We will come back, dive in a little bit to the NBA playoffs. You may have heard there's a big game going on tonight out west. We'll talk about that series and more with Shane Foster right after this.